You know, many people know that Planned Parenthood sued the state of Texas over House Bill 2. And I've got a little intro. It's not little, it's 4 minutes. But
4 minutes?
Well.
Okay, just kidding.
I think the bottom line was when I went, I had to pay this enormous amount, and I don't think I can say how much it was, but it was enormous for me to pay parking for 3 hours downtown because there was no parking. I had to go into a garage, and so I decided I was going to make the best and make a really good report.
I think, when you told me how much you spent for parking, that's
that
how
was
we
like
rob
my
it.
whole weekly allowance to have some, bubble bath or something.
And I look at some of the.
Anyway,
go ahead.
We're going to do this clip. Maybe in a minute when Jamie gets ready here. But I did my intro with some pictures of pro-life babies, and then I'm going to read the rest of the report when we come back. And can't remember it all, and I could fumble around and tell it from my heart, but I think this time, just to save time, I put it in words to try to be more.
We all like listening to the words from your heart.
I know, but it was kind of rambling. So.
Actually, it's the title of a good book.
She's moving the cameras all around here.
Words from the heart of Mauri.
Because
That's
Mom
pretty.
Didn't want to miss anything, and I have some quotes here of what was said. And definitely a different kind of report than you will get from the mainstream media.
While we're waiting for her to set this video in motion, what I was saying about your accomplishments in media, in television and internet and publishing, you really are truly an amazing person. And
I try to do what God tells me to do. And persevere.
Praise God. I mean, I'm not taking any of the glory away from God, don't get me wrong, but you are submissive to God, to be used by God.
I wish I was more.
In '87 when we first met, you had a Just for Kids magazine. It's when God had given her the concept of Just for Kids magazine. And it was so cool. I mean, this was as low a budget a project as you could ever imagine. This was pencil and colors.
We didn't have as good a technology, and remember, I was staying with my mother with 5 kids.
But you were obedient to God, and that's what you've done. Is, I learned to cook as you were learning to HTML.
He's a great cook too. All right, so on to the video.
All right, on to the
video. And we'll
video.
be back, and I'll read some more of the report. When I found out that the local pro-life groups were gathering in front of the federal courthouse on Monday morning of October 21st, I immediately knew that I wanted to be there. The battle for life in Texas is not over. Sunday night, I realized that God wanted me to go inside to report to our viewers what is happening behind the doors of the government judicial system. The Center for Reproductive Rights, Planned Parenthood, and the American Civil Liberties Union filed a lawsuit against the state of Texas. They claim that House Bill 2 requirements that make doctors gain admitting privileges at local hospitals less than 30 miles from where an abortion is performed and dictates when abortion-inducing drugs can be used is unconstitutionally burdensome. These two provisions are set to go into effect on October 29th. This is more than a state issue. It's more than an issue on health for women, and it's more than an issue of women having a right to choose. This is a God issue on the value of life, and it is a fight against a legal ruling that was made 40 years ago in our country through getting it passed with unawareness of the majority of the people. It was and it is an issue pushed, manipulated, and funded by people with hidden agendas to destroy our country from within morally and to eliminate the black race. It is time Christians wake up and stand up strong for the pro-life movement. There's a lot of construction going on around West 5th Street with limited parking, so I parked in a garage paying an enormous amount. As I walked up to the federal courthouse, I saw at least 4 TV cameras set up and waiting to interview the attorneys. There were a few pro-lifers standing together along the sidewalk. I quickly went inside as it was almost 9 a.m. The small camera that I had with me was left with the guard at the door. Without asking, the guards said the trial was on the 7th floor. I walked into a small, crowded courtroom with standing room only. 6 of us were standing by the back door. 12 people sat on 3 benches on each side of the room, a total of 72. 10 attorneys on the plaintiff's side and 12 attorneys on the state side. 4 people sat in the jury seats, the bailiff, court reporter, another aide, and Judge Lee Heckle. There was a total of about 108 people. Deputy Attorney General John Scott requested that Judge Lee Heckle grant requests to disclose issue of confidentiality and allow the state's documents of abortion complicated files to be submitted during the trial because of the importance these documents are to the case. The names of the women will not be given. Judge Heckle granted the request and waived the protection of confidentiality. The state attorney general's attorneys brought out several large file boxes full of women's documents of complications that they received from their Planned Parenthood abortions. Many of these records were brought by women to testify at the Texas State Capitol during the hearings for House Bill 2. The plaintiff's attorneys quickly opposed these documents, saying that they would not have time to read all of these files and claimed they had confidential information that included age, race, and location of the abortion. Judge Heckle said this information would not be looked at.
Just look at that face. Oh, what a beautiful baby.
I was using Craig's glasses. It really does help.
Yeah, so many neat comments there.
Okay, so Judge Yeagle urged the attorneys for both sides to proceed quickly. He said that the trial's purpose isn't to challenge the legality of abortion. The abortion issue is a big issue in this country. It's a divisive issue, he continued. This court's job is not to rule on whether women should be allowed abortions, he said. The issue is whether the challenge legislation falls within the existing constitutional confines of whether it does not. Opening statement by State Solicitor General Jonathan Mitchell stated that the Constitution allows the state to protect the fetal life in the manner so long as it does not impose on undue burden. Mitchell continued saying that the plaintiffs are claiming that the state is to provide the burden of proof. However, the most recent ruling of Planned Parenthood versus Casey states that the burden of proof rests on the plaintiff. He also stated that there is no evidence to Planned Parenthood's claim that 1 out of 3 clinics will have to close or 22,000 women will be prevented from obtaining an abortion. The attorneys for Planned Parenthood did not have an opening statement. They stated that they started with their first witness, Dr. Paul Fine, the medical director for the Gulf Coast Planned Parenthood clinics. He began with his numerous credentials of being in the medical and abortion field for many years. Dr. Fine said the standard in the, give me just a minute, my V is stuck here, my mouse is.
Your mouse?
My mouse here just making V's everywhere.
Huh.
I know, something's wrong with it. Okay. So Dr. Fine said the standard in the new law for RU 486, the abortion-inducing medication, would require providers to adhere to a Food and Drug Administration protocol designed in the 1990s, which is outdated and inefficient. Under the protocol, in which additional clinical visits and a higher dosage of the medication are required, Fine testified that clinics would stop offering drug-induced abortions because it's too complex and labor-intensive. It's turning back the clock 2 decades, Fine said, adding that his Planned Parenthood clinic in Houston would stop offering the pregnancy-ending drugs if the law is enforced. He claimed that over 50% of women wanting an abortion prefer the pills because it is less abrasive. Out of 900,000 women who have had their abortion by the RU486 before 2006, only 5 died. And since 2006, he knew of no deaths. He claimed that women can take the pill in their own home while relaxing on the sofa with their family and friends by their side. As he spoke of how safe the RU486 pill is, I could only think about the article I read the night before titled, "Betrayed by a Pill." A pro-choice woman named Nornan DeWorkin McDaniel gives another perspective when she describes her RU486 abortion. She starts out by talking about how happy she was when RU486 became an option for women. From the moment it was approved in 2000, I believed in the abortion pill. Finally, abortion would become what it always should have been, a private medical matter between a woman and her doctor, if held the promise of swift at-home termination. Then she reports the horrific details of her abortion, the worst pain, severe bleeding that was totally unexpected. When she told the staff at Planned Parenthood afterwards, they only replied that was normal. Abby Johnson also similar horrific experience when she had an RU486 abortion. She goes on to write, "At a management meeting, I voiced my concerns. Why weren't we talking about the risk? Why hadn't anyone told me?" "Well, we don't want to scare them," my supervisor said. "Oh, like they're scared when they think they're going to die from the amount of blood that they're losing because we chose not to tell them that's supposed to be normal?" I responded, "That didn't go over too well." That was their answer. They didn't want women to be scared. The night of my medication abortion, lying on the cold bathroom floor, I had never been so scared in my life. It's true that not every woman who uses RU486 has such a terrible experience, but these bad experiences are more common than many abortion providers would have us believe. Abortion clinics present RU486 as an easy option. Often it is anything but. I read other articles of the trial as it continued throughout the afternoon. Another witness, Professor Potter from the University of Texas, identified himself as the lead investigator for the school's Texas Policy Evaluation Project. He said he'd helped compile the study upon which Planned Parenthood based its claim that 22,000 women would lose abortion access under the new law. During cross-examination by Scott, Potter was unable to answer some questions, including the names of at least 2 Bexar County clinics that would likely close as a result of the new requirements. Potter stated that much of the information in the study was gathered by other researchers. Judge Yeckel will most likely make his decision by October 28th. At the end of the day, these issues are likely to be heard by the U.S. Court of Appeals in New Orleans and the U.S. Supreme Court, Yeckel said. He said he would be shocked if the losing parties don't appeal this decision. So please pray that Judge Yeckel makes the right choice, the right decision in this, and that it is held constitutional, that we protect fetal rights here in Texas.
So what does this say here about the spaying and neutering of the male and female population that participate in abortion?
I just read this long report.
Neuter the males and spay the women. If they're going to participate, might as well just make it a one-time for all. Huh? Mm-hmm. And I think any man that has had a female that has had gone through an abortion has got to have experienced that brokenness too. I can't see any man that says, we're a woman that he loves is going to have an abortion. I can't see how a man would ever allow it. I mean, and I know women say it's their body, But it's also the man's child, too.
You know, I was watching Mark Crutcher, who is the producer of Mahafo 21, that's been shown on channel 11 and 10, I believe, and 16. I believe all three channels have shown it. But he said that earlier the women feminists were hardcore pro-life against abortion. Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stratton, Virginia Woodall, and even the feminist magazine was, because they said that in the end it would profit and protect sexually irresponsible and sexually predatory males.
You know, that would be one way to do it, is that...
Let's not be funny.
Okay, we won't.
And the media tries to project that it's a battle between men and women.
Yeah.
But it's, most pro-life people are women. You know, you go in the halls and it's full of women. You know, it's, abortion is done to women, by men, for men. You know, I mean.
I don't know. I've always said a man loses his vote
That's right.
as soon as he lets his zipper go down. You know, men have, if you have sex outside of the marriage and a woman decides and gets pregnant, she can decide to marry you or abort the baby or have the baby and you pay child support the rest of the life. You know, the man has no vote at all. You know, men have the responsibility to not get the girls pregnant in the first place. You know, you know, and to say that it's women having abortions by men, for men, I don't buy that at all. I think men are out of the equation by that moment in time. I think men should step up and be responsible. You know, when I was talking about spaying or neutering, you know, if they're keeping records of who the father is, maybe you have 2 or 3 babies that get aborted, maybe they ought to neuter the guy if he's that irresponsible. You know, the whole system sucks.
That's
as
right,
far
it
as
does.
babies being aborted.
You know,
when I
Abraham
look-
Lincoln, I saw this on Facebook. He said, because it's legal does not make it right.
That's right. That's right.
I said,
You
oh,
know,
that's so true.
you look at the pictures of these babies' faces that were on, you know, and whether the baby has any type of medical problems or, you know, where the church has failed is not standing with the women after they have the baby in case there is something physically wrong with the child. So many people say, you know, don't abort your baby, don't abort your baby, the baby's born, and that person stands alone, it seems. You know, we have a responsibility to help one another. You know, if you have a next door neighbor or a girl in church or wherever she is and she's pregnant and you help her make the right choice, stand with her after the baby's born too. Because,
oh, for sure.
you know, there's so many people that, well, you've had your baby, now run along, you know, and that's wrong.
That's right.
You know.
That's why we have the clinics around town.
Yeah,
that
the
help
pregnancy
women.
resource centers that help.
That
But you
help
know,
with
it's
it.
even more than
Not
that.
clinics,
It's
but
all of us.
resource
It's all
centers.
of us as a good neighbor standing with one another.
That's right.
You know, it's, you know, too many people, too many men that are taking advantage of women. But a lot of women are just equally wrong. You know, you can't go out and get your wild thing on every night of the week and take no precaution and then blame the guy for getting you pregnant. Which guy was it? Which night was it? And you know, everybody's
wanna
got to grow
mention,
up a little bit.
Mark Crutcher did a video on a tour of one of the abortion clinics that just closed down in Wichita.
Kansas, yeah. That was
And
just
it's really,
nasty facility. They showed at the end of the video the way that they were disposing of
It's
the
really sad.
babies were in a garbage disposal.
yeah. So join us if you'd like to on Facebook. And we have videos like that with Mark Crutcher, who's our friend and producer in Dallas area. He's done a lot of great things exposing truth.
Exposing truth, you know.
And speaking of exposing truth, let's go to world news. We don't have but 10 minutes left.
But you know, before we do, you know, to be aware of these things. You know, it's like and what is your Facebook for where you post most of the articles?
JCI-.world.
JCI.world. So it's just facebook.com/JCI.world. Okay. And Mauri does. She posts tons of stuff. She's always researching and reading, and stay abreast of what's going on. Know that, as we were saying in Ephesians, our battle's in the heavenlies. When people say pray for these issues, prayer works. Prayer is so important to fighting the battle. But we are in a battleground. There was one of the articles, one of the people that was talking about on the video you ran about this is a battleground.
Yeah, that's right.
And when we know that, Satan has an agenda, and that's to kill us all. His goal is that we're all dead, none of us giving our lives to Jesus, and he wins. But he's not going to win because there's too many of the saints of the Most High God that believe and love Jesus Christ. But we have a responsibility to be in prayer over the issues that are important. When we know that this Monday, when you went in where the Planned Parenthood is trying to get parts of the House Bill 2 revoked.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, when we know that what they're doing, then we all ought to join in prayer against the purposes of Planned Parenthood so that they don't win these concessions. Their goal is just keep as much money coming into their coffers as possible, not caring at all about the harm they're doing to women. This abortion facility in Wichita, Kansas was doing abortions a long time before it was even legal in 1973. I know they were as far as back as 1971, but I believe it was even further, long time before that. Backdoor, money-making, evil people.
This bro-choice came out of Austin. It's more sex without consequences, and that's B for brother, BRO dash choice, bro-choice. Remember they were at the Capitol that day?
Yeah.
All right, some world news.
All right. Thanks for being with us, and thank you, darling, for sharing.
Okay.